Hello, I'm Martin Dougiamas. I'm the founder of Moodle and head of research. I spend a lot of time thinking about AI in the future.
And I am Usha Raman, a life coach and trainer specializing in mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and communications. And we are on the fabulous Thames 50/50 podcast.
And we're married.
That's right, we are.
Welcome back to 50/50. It's my delight to have Martin and Usha with me today. Martin, I was practicing pronouncing your surname and I made it up, Dougiamas.
No. But close.
Okay.
Dougiamas.
Dougiamas.
Actually, no one knows how to say it because it's a Greek name that my dad brought to Australia and it got anglicised. And we were saying Dougiamas for a while. And then I once heard Peter Holland say it on the news and he said it better. So I'm going with that.
And what was his one again?
Dougiamas.
Dougiamas.
Yeah.
It's quite nice and interesting.
Yeah.
So was it a Greek name that was changed by your father, or it's an exact Greek name that we're just figuring out how to pronounce?
It's Dougiamas in Greek, which is because the delta, and so it got changed to a D and it's transliterated, so it's not quite the same.
Oh, wow. So
It doesn't matter, really.
I know, but it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Did your dad literally come out from Greece?
Yeah, he was part of the wave of Greeks. They were encouraging certain countries to emigrate to Australia, and he came on the boat on a 6-week boat voyage back in the 60s.
Oh, and did he come with his wife in hand, or did he meet her here?
No, he met her here, and she's German, and they met in Kalgoorlie,
Come on.
out in the bush. So he was a miner and she was a nurse, and they met in a cinema.
Oh, how lovely. Was it the Kalgoorlie Cinema?
I think so. They only have one, I think, and
Probably right.
she offered him some minties. That's the story.
Okay.
So they bonded over a minty.
And as she handed over, he thought, she's the one.
I think he followed her home, and then they couldn't speak English very well.
I was going to say, could they
either of
speak
them?
English?
So they had dictionaries, and they used to talk to each other through dictionaries.
Oh.
But they learned, and they're really an inspirational couple. Actually, they've always been very close and worked together for.
Oh, how beautiful. It's like the language of love. They thought, we're going to figure this out. We'll use our dictionaries. And where do you come in the order of your family, in your children?
I'm the firstborn. I have one younger sister, 5 years younger.
And were you in Kalgoorlie when you were young, or had they come to Perth? Or
Yeah, until I was 12 or so, I was out there in the bush. They got a job working in out in the desert, literally building a mining camp from scratch, just the two of them alone, for about 100 miners and geologists who would come there. It was Western Mining, and they had that job to build the camp. And I was conceived out there and grew up. My early life, it was just all desert and pet kangaroos and so on.
are we getting a feeling about your dynamic nature coming from your conception with your parents single-handedly building a mining
So
camp?
many stories. My nappies all being swept away by a willy and disappeared. And then Mum had to make new ones out of sheets because there's no shops.
Oh, come on, that's too fantastic. Yeah. I didn't even know we were going to get such a good story from your very early life. Yeah. Oh, wow, that's amazing. And by the way, you're talking about that they're both still living?
Very much so, yeah. They live here in Perth, and I, still love them and see them as much as I can. So, yeah, we're a very good, close family.
Oh, how wonderful. Is there any Greek or German in your abilities in terms of speech?
I often sort of joke I got the computer-minded scientists, because the computer science side from the German side.
Yes.
And maybe my relationship abilities more from my father's side, more the Greek romance.
Oh, I always joke with him and say, I'm so glad you're the Greek lover and the German businessman.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Rather than the other way around, which would be not great.
A very different experience. A very different experience. You'd have maybe either not much money or a very interesting sort of career side, and then you would have quite a strict experience at home if the cliches are to be believed.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's cliches always come from some truth, right?
Well, they do, don't they? You know, I was joking yesterday about something, and my son said, "Oh, damn! I just mentioned Sam. If I mention Sam, I have to give him $5 for the privacy jar." Oh, this podcast cost me a fortune.
Who's that, Sam?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, stop it, Martin. Stop. He's going to send me broke. I said, when he first started, he would say, "I'm very disappointed, Mum. You need to ask my permission." And I said, "I'm so sorry. I just get excited to talk about you." And he said, "It's all right, but $5 for the privacy jar." And then last week I had a guest and I didn't mention him. And he said, "Mum, did you mention me?" And I said, "I didn't." He goes, "Oh." And I said, "Times have changed, eh? Now there's a financial benefit. You're like, mention me again. Yeah, he can get $10, fine. What was I even talking about, Sam?
You were
for?
asking me my name.
I was
basically.
asking you your name, and then I was talking about Sam, and then I was being racist. So I don't think I was being racist, but he was. I was doing an impersonation. So he said, "Mum, that's racist." I said, "I think, does it really?" For me, the question is it coming from love or hate? If it's coming from love, I don't think it's racist. But then I said, would I do this impersonation in front of that friend? And I thought, no, I wouldn't. Therefore, have to cut it out. Anyway, and he was saying to me, you know, he's really, you know, they're so wonderful children now, so much more loving. He'll go, "That's a bit harsh, Mum," you know, and it's so interesting because I've got German in my background and I've got Scottish and English and Irish, and it's quite the schmozzle. But
Well, all that, I find it really interesting, cultures, different cultures. I think we should learn about all the cultures and know about them and talk about them and share them. And I'm really interested in people's backgrounds. And it's just out of curiosity about understanding the cornucopia of human experiences that we have. And when I travel, I see so many people living in such different ways. And you go, there are other ways. We shouldn't just assume where we grew up is how things are or should be.
yes.
There's so many options, actually.
And the beauty of all of those people and their cultures. And I always think in Australia we have, excluding our Indigenous culture, if you look at the sort of Caucasian culture or the people who've come from other parts of the world, I think there's a real advantage in being a group of what I would call mutts, right? Because it's all a combo. So, you know, you don't have that lineage of hatred against another culture because you really don't know who you are or where you're from. So you can go to the footy and sit next to someone and go, cut that out. But it's not. I remember being in Scotland and they used to have us, it was a Celtic Rangers match, so the most difficult two teams in terms of their lack of love for one another. And we separated out 2 kilometres before the stadium. And then when we sat with the particular tribe we were in, there was a whole empty set of seats between us and security guards on each row. Wow. And I thought, wow, I feel so lucky to be from this country. Yeah. And then I went to a doctor's surgery. I was working as a rep at the time, said hello to the receptionist. And she said, "What are you doing this weekend?" in her Scottish accent. I said, "I'm going to the Celtic match." And the fellow behind me said, "You'd want to keep your mouth shut," in his Scottish accent. Well, not sure, I won't try.
Wow.
And I said, "Oh." And I've never become more Australian. I was like, "I don't know about what you're talking about, mate. I'm just a tourist." And he said, "Well, you're obviously Catholic." And I said, "Why would I be Catholic?" And which I actually do. I am historically Catholic. He said, "Because otherwise you don't go for Celtic." I don't know anything about that. And I said to raised my eyes to the receptionist. She said, "Yeah, be careful what you say about football."
Wow.
So I love it that here, we have our problems and we have racism and all sorts of things we're not proud of. But we can go to the footy and sit next to someone from another team and have a joke, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So we launched right into your heritage based on your surname. I was saying at the start of the podcast before we started recording, this is going to be fantastic for me because I can ask you questions about the two of you as a couple that I've never known before. Sure. And then I thought what we could do is, because you guys are a fascinating couple because you have interests that coincide, different interests, and I suspect what we'll do is we'll have kind of 2 conversations in one. So I was saying this is our first late night show interview where you have 2 guests and one person gets asked most of the questions and the other person interjects and then vice versa. And Martin, you had this fantastic idea where I could interview couples as the focus of my guest interviews, and the name already works because it's 50-50.
Right.
You want a percentage if it works out?
No.
Oh, so
Just keep it 50-50.
so generous. So Danielle, Martin told me actually who you were. I really didn't know. As you know from the several times we've met, you talk about technology and I go, oh, well, that's very nice. And then go, can we have a tea? Or I don't know anything about it. My husband knows an enormous amount. And when I said to him, oh, I'm interviewing Martin and Usha today, I said, would you like to ask Martin any questions? And he said, I actually would have liked to be the one to interview Martin. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, would you like to be involved now? And he said, not at this late notice, but he would have wonderful intellectual questions for you.
Well, I think technology affects everybody, so we should talk about it in terms that everybody can understand, and everyone has questions, and so it's not really a specialist topic.
And you know what's perfect? As we rationalise my lack of understanding, I am going to be the common person, right? Because I will ask the questions that everyone would be worried about and people that don't understand need the answers to, which probably is the larger part of the audience, right? Especially in such a fast-paced world that we're in now. And I instantly want to start talking about that, but I'm going to take a step back. We're going to have our general couple chat and then we'll split up the conversation. Yep. So what do I want to know? Where did you meet, please?
Well, I'll start this one.
Awesome.
Maybe you want to introduce Usha.
Say a bit more about Usha's background.
Oh, okay.
Well, what have we talked about so far with Martin? We've talked about where his parents came from and what his surname is. So shall we do the same with you as a kick-off?
Sure.
Where did your parents come from and what is your surname? Because it's a very interesting surname.
Yeah, Raman. Well, my origins are from India. We don't know where exactly from my dad's side because he was adopted. Yeah, so we don't really know. We guess it's from Madras. And my mom's granddad was from Kerala. And when he came to Singapore, he was a laborer waiting for work. And his colleagues were just sort of around and, he wasn't getting called. And apparently somebody said, oh, Ratnam, and nobody put up their hands for Ratnam, and his friend went, hey, say your Ratnam. And then, he became Ratnam, and he eventually changed his name to Ratnam. And now my mom has a surname, which is not really her dad's name. So that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
But and then he moved to Singapore. My grandmother was from Malaysia. They met, I believe, in Singapore. And I was born in Singapore because both my parents were born in Singapore. Yeah,
so are both your parents Indian or was your mum Malaysian or Malaysian Indian?
So my mum is Singaporean Indian, but her mum is Malaysian Indian and her dad is Indian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were born in Singapore.
Yep.
And you have an identical twin. I know that.
Yes. And if you didn't know I had a twin sister, and if you saw her somewhere, you'd think she was me. But luckily, she lives in Darwin. Well, luckily for others, but not so luckily for me.
I was going to say, luckily for the identical part, but not so lucky because you're not together at the moment.
Yeah.
How wonderful. So you grew up in Singapore, born and bred in Singapore. Now, did you meet Martin in Singapore or how does that part of the story work?
Yeah, so we met here in Perth and I had just started my business on the side and I was teaching in a college. I was teaching tourism management and we were using Moodle and I was like, oh, there was this talk from Moodle and I thought, oh, just a local entrepreneur, I'll go and check it out since we're using it now in our college. And went there and the first speaker, I won't mention who, was all about, this is the Silicon Valley model, this is how you make money and this is how you cut your costs and blah, 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 blah.
Series A, Series B, Series C, exponential curves, the whole deal.
Oh, it's got a real flavour.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I was the only one who was not from a tech background because little did I read the fine print that said for tech entrepreneurs and there I was, life coach in the room.
Got it.
And then he comes on, Martin, and I think the first or the second slide was the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And that's something I'd always affiliated myself with because I've been volunteering for a long time. And so after his talk, I just wanted to go up to him and say, listen, you have to keep spreading that message because that's such an important one. Everybody else here is like, lost in, in the game, I suppose. Yes. You start off as an entrepreneur with the right reasons, but then you get lost in the game, I think, a lot of times.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, well done. Thank you for that. And that's how we met.
And what year are we in now?
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So Moodle had, I, of course, do my research before an interview. Did you create Moodle in 2000, launch in 2000?
Some of my earliest papers and research were 1999. The first, I was working on Moodle during 2000. I put it up on the internet, the very earliest version for other people to use in 2001, just after the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. And I had a baby, a little tiny baby. I remember watching the towers with a little baby and then releasing Moodle shortly afterwards. It was all conflated, you know.
Oh, wow.
So it was an interesting time in the world. But yeah, it was, so 2002 was when people started to really just use it everywhere very quickly, and it just caught on like wildfire. So I had people joining me in the project back then. So yeah, that's 23 years ago.
So I didn't realise either how long ago it was, or I didn't understand the size of Moodle. So I was talking to Danielle and I said, I'm going to have Usha and Martin on. And Danielle said, Martin's like a hero of Perth startups. And I said, is he? And I was like, I haven't been respectful enough when I've seen him. And she said, yeah, because also he had this enormous success, but he didn't leave Perth, which is very unusual. So is it true that you didn't leave Perth, or you still based yourself in Perth? Because I know you've had or do have offices elsewhere.
Well, I didn't leave Earth. So I just see the planet as a small thing, really. And that I'm a very globally minded person. I always have been. I guess having European parents and growing up in the desert, and I was on the internet from as soon as I could possibly be on the internet, which is the mid-90s.
Wow.
Even earlier, actually. And I created a bulletin board system back pre-internet, so I was already getting people together. So I've always been online. I've always been thinking that way. And the fact I was in Perth was that's just where my body happens to be. And I never really worried about local acceptance before going global. Just went straight global.
Got it. And I wonder if it's a combination of what you were saying about, because you can hear your passion for what you did, your interest straight away, and then you're already global thinking. And then what you were saying, Usha, about going to that talk and people going, how do we exponentially grow? It sounds like it wasn't coming from that place of killer commercialism. It was from, I want to create and I want to make a difference. And
I want to solve problems. I'm a problem solver, and I was hacking the problem. I was working at Curtin University at the beginning and solving things around me with people around me, helping somebody try and understand this new internet they've got a Netscape 1.0 browser on their Novell NetWare connected machine. This is early stuff, and they're just trying to understand it. And when I'm explaining to them that they can start transferring some of what they do at university onto the internet, it started to blow people's minds, and it rapidly turned into me giving seminars for the general public, and I helped the ATO understand what the internet was, and all these things. I helped the WA government with a 1996 bill where they were trying to censor the internet. Can you believe it? They were worried about bomb recipes being accessible and things like that back then. And I was like, no, you cannot censor anything. As soon as you censor anything, you're going to ruin all the good part as well. And so luckily we didn't become China there. And so I really got involved very quickly in it from that early time.
Yeah, wow. And you can hear that it was from the very early time. Your love was already there prior. Did you do computer science as your topic? Like, did you do that at university?
Yes, I had a computer science degree.
Okay.
When I started to solve, so that's how I got into a position of, I was an internet consultant at Curtin, but my main title was webmaster, which was lovely. And I had long hair, and I kind of really doubled down on the webmaster thing. You know, I almost had a cloak.
Yes, I can see it.
No, I didn't, but I kind of, in my mind, I had a cloak.
Yes,
and I just appear in a puff of smoke and fix something and then disappear again, you know.
Oh, yes, how romantic.
As
I
the
can feel the
webmaster.
Greek coming out of that as well. Yeah.
I had a regular column in the university newspaper called Words from the Webmaster, and I teach people about different aspects of the internet through there.
Wow.
So I got quite well known around Curtin. And I was building the systems, building the internet systems for the university. So I started the university website. I built a news system on kiosks all around the campus, which was streamed out through the internet so that you had news, available, what's going on campus, things like that. And it's through solving problems and teaching people a lot that I realized there needed to be better tools. And I was experimenting with what was available, and what was available wasn't very good. And I started to build Moodle as a platform to bring all of the capabilities into a neat package to make it easy for people to create an online classroom where everybody can interact.
Yeah, wow. I think what works in our conversation is I think we'll continue this thread and talk about where we've gone through that time and up until today, and then we'll talk to you, Usha, about more of your background.
Sure.
But I just need to know, met in 2017. Oh, what a wonderful job you're doing, says Usha. Did you go, hello? Did you have any, hello, Usha? Or was it like, thank you, young woman, I appreciate your support?
There was a queue of people wanting to talk to me after that talk, and I spoke to them all, and there are a lot of people with startups and some really great ideas that I still remember in there. But when Usha came up to me, something hit different. We just clicked. There was a vibe.
Oh.
And I was just very curious. And neither of us were in a real position to get together or anything like that. We were in the ending both of us in the ending throes of our other relationships.
Yes.
So we were not in a very good place emotionally there.
Can I add what you said to me, though?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Because I just wanted to take a photo and show it to my boss, because my boss, who was meant to be there, didn't end up coming. And so I took the photo, and then he said to me, oh, here's my card. Send me the picture that we took, okay? Send it to me. And I was like, oh, that's strange. No speaker normally says that. But I thought, look, he was kind enough to ask. I'll just do my due diligence. I'll send it. So I sent it on WhatsApp, and then now he has my phone number.
Ah.
So he's quite a smart man.
Well, I didn't have any plans of using it just then, but
That's right. It's an innocent story.
Things
You
grew.
can hear the innocence.
Exactly.
I didn't want to lose touch with you, that's for sure, whatever it was.
I had the same initial impact from Usha. Sadly, you had already got Usha because, I couldn't follow through. But Usha and I learnt a particular behavioural model online. We're in the same online class, and this beautiful woman comes on wherever we were all located. Found out, of course, you're around the corner. Didn't know because everyone was all around Australia. This woman comes on, and I thought so quickly, what a lovely woman. The way you said hello, the way you said good morning. And I was like, who is this gorgeous woman? And everyone else was being their, normal human, bit nervous at the start of a course, bit cool, And you came on and go, good morning. And I was like, oh, good morning.
Yeah, she's a ray of sunshine wherever she goes.
Honestly,
just lighting everything up.
It's absolutely right. It's absolutely right. We spoke before this podcast, and Usha left a message for me, and I said, you are just so easy to love, Usha.
Likewise.
Oh, how beautiful. Aren't we so lucky, man?
Yeah.
I got to meet her too.
Yeah.
Oh, so good, man. So
It's the
good.
best, actually, even with Moodle and everything, the best thing I did in my life was meet Usha. I would
Oh, come on.
totally.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Look, I completely agree. Partly because I don't really understand Moodle, but partly because I know how awesome she is. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, now I just want to talk about love, but we're going to talk about my favourite topic, technology.
Okay.
All right. Now, Usha, if you have thoughts, particularly with us having our combined sort of training, coaching, when we talk about AI in that world, because when I very first met you, Martin, at your beautiful home, you were playing with, and I shouldn't use that term because it could have been deadly serious.
Oh, no, it's playing.
Okay. You were playing with coaching and AI the very first time I met you. And I went, uh-oh, because back then I was very much in uh-oh about everything about AI. My husband has somewhat calmed me because he says, I say, uh-oh, Andy, and he goes, don't worry because everything will be okay. And I go, I think there's going to be a deep valley of darkness before everything's okay. I think there's bad times are coming, and I don't think people are ready for what's coming. And even our clients with industries that I know can be looked after now more and more and more exponentially quickly by AI, I don't understand how everyone's going to be okay. So one of the topics that we thought we might talk about is the impact of AI on industry from now. It's going to be scary, isn't it? What you're going to say is going to be scary, is it? Or is there hope in it too?
Well, I think first let's separate AI from the implementation of AI.
Okay.
So AI, as a computer science person,
Yes.
AI is an amazing thing. We have worked out how to make some metal and rocks think and talk to us and do stuff. That's incredible. It's like some magical thing that we human beings have worked out how to do. And it's super exciting. And everyone who's into computer science is super excited. And they're all like just intellectually excited by it. And the way it's progressing is very fast.
Yes.
And we actually have the help of AI to help us with the growth. So it's an exponentially growing technology. And it's the first technology that's been able to do that, to actually grow itself.
Okay.
So that's what's so exciting about AI. And when you see people get excited, that's at the core of it.
Okay.
But the implementation of AI is that the same difference in business models we were discussing at that presentation where Ush and I met. So much of technology is driven by this venture capitalist funded kind of mercenary approach to rolling out technology in a way where you only think about market share, about infinite growth. That these graphs they all draw never have a top to them.
No.
They always go up forever. They assume, the only way for any of them to achieve their goals is to take over the world. So they're all talking about global domination in some way, whether it's implicit or explicit. Lately, a lot of explicit. And that's super concerning. These are very big companies. Some of them have come from nowhere 4 years ago, like OpenAI, are becoming, they're throwing around hundreds of billions of dollars now and putting in new coal power stations to power their data centers and all kinds of rubbish.
Which, by the way, is not open. OpenAI is not open.
And they're not open. They've misused this word.
Okay.
So there is that side of the implementation of technology, that there are other ways to do technology.
Yeah.
And that's what Moodle is. Moodle is an open source platform. It's something that we manage a lot of people to come together in a community and build technology that is shared. And you take it and use it how you want, and you own your own instance of that technology. It runs locally. You control the power, you control the data, you control the upgrades and the growth. You can contribute back to the community. When I'm at conferences, I get constantly approached by people thanking me for, I have a job because of Moodle. I can use my degree in whatever, working on stuff, and I feel part of this bigger thing, and it's a community project. And it's the same with something like Linux, which is an operating system like Windows or Mac.
Yes.
Linux, 80% at least of the whole internet is powered by Linux. It's an open source operating system. It runs everything, and it's open source, and that's a community of people building the infrastructure of the internet. But you don't hear about it much on the news because it's all, most open source doesn't have great marketing.
Yeah, because it's not the point, right?
No, it's not the point. People who get it and will find out about it and will join and become part of that. So
just for the benefit, if I may, of people listening who might not fully understand what is open source.
Yeah, perfect.
Because I always have this problem with Martin, and he's very passionate, which, he obviously is.
Yes.
And then there'll be people just listening and nodding, and then I'll interject and go, do you know what open source means?
Yes.
And then they were like, I've heard of it, but not fully.
Yes. Yes.
So I think there's a really big education piece there if you could add to.
Yeah,
so,
that's excellent.
Thank you. You always catch me on that. Like a good analogy is a recipe for a dish.
Okay.
If you go to a shop or restaurant and buy a dish, you get the ready-made final dish. You have some idea what's in it, but you have no way to remake that dish probably.
Yes.
It's a complicated thing. And that's a proprietary service. You're getting sold the final product. Whereas if I give you a recipe for something,
Yes.
you're now empowered to make that yourself.
Yes.
And we can all share the recipe, and maybe you make some tweaks to it and you give me back the tweaks. Oh, I've improved it a bit. And I go, oh, great. And I give it to Usha. And so it's that's what open source is.
The code is
in
open.
code.
The code is
actual
open.
code.
So here we go. This is perfect with the ignorance. Microsoft products are not open source.
No.
So I can't get my Microsoft Word, even if I'm very clever, and go, I'm going to do a few tweaks and send it to Martin.
Exactly.
But Linux, which I understood people have worked on without being paid for, can that be true with open source? People can do it just to contribute to the community? I say with my furrowed brow because I'm so used to the corporate world.
Look, a lot of them do have a job
Okay.
where they need to use Linux or Moodle or other product, and they do the fix because they need it at work. So they're being paid anyway, a salary to do a job, and then they just contribute the source code back for free.
So in an open source, there's code, like if I imagine all letters and numbers and slashes and dots that
It's
I don't
text,
get.
files of text, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And I go, I can access this because it's open. I can make the change, and then I can improve everyone's lives who uses this because I've improved it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask a question, but it might be a very complex answer. If I'm in Wyoming and I change a bit of the code of Moodle or Linux, how does the other users find out? Is it part of the same system or?
You can publish it yourself and say, hey, everyone, I've done this change. And other people might go, great, I need that change. That's kind of a more peer-to-peer on the outside. But most projects will have something in the middle that is managing the community.
Okay.
And they'll have processes that, so those changes will come up and they'll be reviewed or voted on, or, yeah, that's a great change, but you've broken 10 other things while you did that, so it's not great for everybody, so we're going to reject it.
Okay.
And so there's a process of acceptance as it sort of gets accepted into the core product. There's usually some core version.
Okay.
But there may be, if the people running the core version aren't doing a good job of that, there might be a little bit of a mutiny, and people go, well, I'm going to fork it, and hey, everybody, come over here. I'm doing a better job of accepting what's going on. And so there's a natural survival of the fittest going on in open source, right? And even if whoever's maintaining it goes away, the community might form another way of managing it.
So if I'm correct, I can feel how this matches in with your values because it's usefulness. Like you said, your main driver was problem solving. So it's usefulness, it's open, it's generous, it allows respect of everyone. It's not based on just the almighty dollar. So there's a lot of love in it.
It's not even based on one person's culture and point of view, because how someone in Estonia might think about a Moodle site or online learning, it can be very different, and often is. Even the US are very happy with grades over 100%. And I was like, no. And they were like, yeah, we all do it. And so we had to modify Moodle to let it support grades over 100%, even though that hurts my mathematical brain.
So on that, I think it was The Simpsons or someone said, I'm going to give it 110%. And someone said, you cannot give it 110%. And the pain, I can feel the pain of that, Martin.
But that's a cultural thing. That's very accepted there. And so, and it was like, well, okay, you guys work out how you want that to work, and we'll put it into Moodle. And so all the different communities and cultures have input in their own way. And that's really good, right?
Wonderful.
It's
When
not
you say survival of the fittest, it's not so much the people, but it's the
concept.
the actual plugins or
the ideas. And
the ideas
Like
that
what
survive
works
are the
best
ones.
survives.
Yes.
So it's not an IT question, but I have to ask it. As you talk about this, there's this sense of lack of scarcity. So one of the things that I've always had to look at in myself is this worry about scarcity or being competitive, or is there enough money, or is there enough work? And I'm still working on it. This lack mentality is very strong. I mean, look, one whole side is Irish. Say no more.
Right.
Potato famines,
Yeah,
it's never enough of anything.
sure.
Not enough God, not enough potatoes. We're all lacking.
Yeah.
Did you always have that? Do you remember as a child? I don't know if we think about scarcity as a child, but when you go to do your degree, when you get your first job, when you start doing Moodle, was there that element of I have to make a living, I have to make enough money? Did you always have freedom from that? Or was it that, look, I need X amount, I've got that from whatever I'm doing, now I'm going to bring the technology love forth?
So I had no care at all for the sustainability in the beginning. It was just problem solving.
Okay.
And I was building the initial versions. I realized I needed to know a lot more about education.
Okay.
So I went and did a Master's of Science Education and then a PhD. And it was during those that I was really building the first version of Moodle. And at that time, I got a scholarship, a PhD scholarship, and it was $16,000 a year, and I was living on that with a young wife and
I was
a
going
baby.
to say, have you had a baby as yet? So
Yeah.
you had one baby, Moodle's come
Little
out, the
baby.
twin towers are falling.
Yep.
Is there a toddler running around in that story as well?
Yeah, no, this was the first one,
Okay.
the first baby. The next one came a couple of years later.
Okay. So you had a young wife, you had your first baby, and you had
Yes.
$16,000 a year.
Yeah, she also got a job as a teacher a
Okay.
bit later on, and that was a contribution. So we were not well off by
No,
any means. We were living in her parents' house, so there was no rent, and we were scraping by. But I was just 18 hours a day fixated on producing something I was going to give away for free. And you can imagine how that landed with everyone. It's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, this is important. This needs to exist. I just need this to exist. And I had faith in myself that with the rest would work out. So people started to say, hey, can we have this feature in Moodle? Like someone from Saudi Arabia contacted me. You know, Moodle should have a quiz engine. Should be able to do quizzes in an online education thing. And I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think I charged him $600, and I did it in a week, 1 week's programming. So I had very small goals. I should add, the Moodle organization now is 300 people and tens of $1 million going on all the time. Back then it was very tiny.
Yes.
And people started to say, oh, can you look after our Moodle site for us remotely? And so yeah, sure. And I'm looking after people's sites all over the world. There was Silicon Valley Bank. There was universities in Dublin. There was all kinds of things. And I got to the point where I was earning about $100,000 a year, so a good salary.
Yeah.
But I was spending all my time looking after the clients and not enough doing the R&D anymore.
Got it.
And I realized that I had this huge inflection point. Do I want to build an organization and be CEO of it and run everything? Or do I just would like doing the R&D, and the R&D was what I chose? There were people in the community who were education technology people who had businesses, and they were helping people. And one of them said to me, look, why don't I take care of the looking after the clients and pay you royalties, and then you do the R&D? And we had a discussion. We worked out a little contract. It was 10% of your gross revenue, because it was an easy number.
Yes.
I like to keep maths easy.
Yes.
And that was the first Moodle partner. And I gave him all my clients and started getting 10% back. And then I took on more partners. And now we have like 100 companies around the world that do that. And that's the basic business model of Moodle, that there's services. People need help with any technology.
Yes.
And they choose one of the partners. And the main Moodle headquarters still does mostly development and is all focused on that.
And now you were the CEO up until recently. Then you brought in a CEO, and now aren't you the R&D? Are you the head of R&D for Moodle again now?
Yes, I'm the head of research. I realized for 20 years I had to learn how to run a company. I'm not an MBA kind of person. I'm a computer science person who had to learn how to run a business and grow it to 300 people. Plus, if you add up all the partners, we're talking about 3,000 people probably. And looking after all of that, quite a lot of management is, well, this person doesn't get on with that person and I've got to sort it out. That's not what I like doing.
No.
So I just got very tired of it all. And I was like, all this new stuff is happening with AI and I'm following it and I'm itching to get into it, but I haven't got the time.
Yes.
So I felt, look, and it took 2 years to build a senior leadership team that I could trust and find a CEO on top of that and hire someone into the position and gently hand it all over and just go off to the side and have a little research budget. And so now I'm in a team of 2, myself and one other person, and we just do AI research for the past couple of years. Is all we do is make prototypes and study AI in education in particular.
So when you got that, so you had freedom at the beginning, creativity, it's all happening, you're having the time of your life. I do think about your young wife and baby.
Yeah.
Do you feel it as well?
Yeah.
It's like, I see that.
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky.
I feel it too.
Yeah, I get that. But the passion was clear, right? You were like, I had to do what you did. So there was this freedom and creativity. It sounds, I love this story. It's like, I love your life. It sounds wonderful. And then it gets bigger and bigger and it gets a bit unwieldy, but you're still learning, growing. You've got this huge thing. You're the CEO running the whole show. Martha's arguing with Bob. You've got to sort it out. You're a bit over it. You go, right, I'm going to organise a CEO. You spend time doing that. You do it. And now you're the research person with it. Was that a wonderful refresher?
Oh, the best. It was like diving into a cold pool on a hot summer day. I just was able to let go of all that stress.
Oh.
And now I'm super busy, of course, but I'm busy. I'm probably 70% of my time I'm reading and absorbing. I'm doing a lot of writing. I'm doing a lot of presenting. I produce reports on things to help people. If someone has a need, then I'll do the research around it, produce a report and go, here you go. But I don't have to worry about it after that. I just go, here you go. Here's the answers for you. Carry on.
I can feel it, the relief. And having built this whole world, it's like phase 1 was creating it and kind of, I suppose, not accidentally exactly, because you had the passion to make the difference, but the growth, make this big thing, it's all working wonderful. That still exists, which gives you the freedom, the ability to look after your family, to travel, have a good time. And then that all exists already. And then you're at this next phase of freedom to go, right. So you are literally in the world of AI. So what have we talked about so far? I talked about the Valley of Darkness. Can we go back there on such a positive note?
Yeah.
Talk about you said AI, and I have to imagine being someone that thinks this way, where I find these things exciting, but I can kind of imagine it. I've met sane people, I've met logical people, they are excited, wonderful. Then I think OpenAI is not open. The world is like it is. What is actually going to happen and how fast is it coming? When I think about my clients that work in technical industries, I feel like they're and I'm like, do you know that most of your jobs can now be?
Yes. Look, so this is the big thing that I want all of us to be talking about in the world is, what kind of world do we want to end up with? Like, what is the utopia that we want? What are we driving towards? Because at the moment, there's not a lot of long-term thinking. You don't hear, our last election here in Australia, you didn't hear the politicians talking about what Australia might look like in 20 years.
No.
And a lot of things take time to develop. Mostly we're short-term thinking, what's going to happen this year or at the most, or 3 years maybe, but it's so short-term. What we are facing with AI is the inevitable, and I want to stress this, it's quite inevitable because of so many people who aren't connected doing little obvious logical steps. The inevitable automation of a lot of work that happens now.
Yes.
And so many people are operating on this base idea that you need to work to live. And that is so embedded in our thinking, we don't even think of it as an idea anymore. It's just sort of seems obvious, but that can actually change. It may be eventually robots do all the work and we don't need to. So the utopia is something like that. where we've organized society in a way where robots do all the work. As a result, we have an economy that is super plentiful, and we have everything we need because all the problems in the Sustainable Development Goals, which cover things like climate change and equality and education, and we've solved them all because we've got such massive, intelligent brains solving it. And I should add, if you're thinking about AI as a chatbot that we're using, like ChatGPT, this is literally the bottom of an exponential curve, right?
Okay.
We are talking about something way more powerful than that, and we're talking about that embedded in a physical, embodied form. So robots.
Yeah.
And those robots may be humanoid, they may have bodies our size and shape and be walking around in society doing jobs. Or they could be all kinds of weird shapes, like Roomba floor cleaners and wall cleaners and, snakes that climb up telephone poles to fix things at the top, and all kinds of shapes, anything you can imagine.
Yes.
They'll be crawling everywhere and doing the jobs. So in this utopia, we work out how to do that in a nice ethical way where we trust them, and we are freed up now to all live like rich people.
Yes.
So we're all like, what do rich people do now? People who are wealthy, they don't die of boredom. They have tons of great stuff to do, right?
Tons.
They're enjoying their life, right?
Yeah.
We all would love that life of a wealthy person. So at this end of the spectrum, the utopia, you have that going on. We all have that lifestyle.
Yes.
It's like Star Trek or something, right? And we've just worked out all that stuff.
And is that connected to universal basic income?
Well, you need to completely upend the economy, because it is based on that unit I mentioned, which is you need to work to live.
That's
you need to be
right.
an effective part of the economy.
Yes.
Yes, if in that scenario we're not earning money, we have to be given money.
Yes.
Or maybe money ceases to be an issue anymore or something, but probably we'll still have money.
Okay.
If we have money, then yes, everyone just gets free money.
Okay.
And that money comes from the productivity of the people who are running robots, or the government running robots or something. This is the best possible scenario that a lot of people get excited about.
Yeah, sounds wonderful.
And
I'm feeling the butts come up.
something I'm doing is fleshing out how that looks in a lot of detail, like how it could actually work. You would tax the tokens, for example, the actual unit of thinking happens in AI. You would have taxes of a sort that would come into a giant pool of money that would pay for all the things. The key thing in how you find fairness and equality, down the other end, and this is sort of where the US is taking us, is this corporate control over AI, and everything being productized, and everything being about global dominance and racing the others to get there first. And, I can put it very simply. Do you want your new robot butler with its super high definition cameras and great great microphones and the ability to lift heavy things and walk around your house? Do you want that to be directly connected on subscription to Elon Musk? And I think most people would go, hell no. But that is exactly the situation that he is trying to create with his companies. And there are hundreds of other companies like that aimed at the same prospect. They want to get there first to be the majority, to capture the market, right?
Yes.
The market is us. Why would we want to be captured?
Yes.
So, this is Black Mirror stuff, literally.
Yeah, it is.
And yet everybody is gung-ho on it. Absolutely obsessed. And partly it's driven by that intellectual excitement I told you about of AI itself, but part of it is driven by the money, the billions and billions of dark and visible money that is out there pumping up certain corporate structures. And they're all about proprietary. They're all not open.
Yes.
They're all about subscriptions and capture. and getting you addicted on a drug, basically.
Yes.
And creating an environment where you can't live without us anymore
Yes.
because we own everything around you.
Yes.
And like that's the dystopia.
Yes.
That's Cyberpunk 2077. That's like the Blade Runner worst case science fiction scenarios, right? And like, why would we want to head towards that? And I'm just not hearing enough revolutionary talk about, we want the utopia.
Yeah, we want the utopia. Even in that example you just gave, when I think about the impact that the internet or social media or anything else has had on so many people, myself included, I would love to deny that I have an addiction to picking up my phone and checking what's happening. I can't deny it. It's embarrassing, but it's true.
Everybody's.
And when I think about the majority of us as humans, all doing our best and all trying to be clever and all the rest, humans do seem to be quite corrallable into an idea when certain people understand the human mind, the human motivation, how to manipulate people. And this will sound very rude, but I don't think the majority of people, myself included, are clever enough to recognise when that manipulation is happening, and they get caught up in a process where they don't even know that what they're doing is based on them being manipulated by a dark force or a force around power. When I think of things so simply. So I think of love and fear. I think of power and ego, and I think of love, and I think of them as separate things. So whether someone is Elon Musk or the Amazon fellow Jeff Bezos, whatever they're doing in terms of creating greater and greater power, Donald Trump, whoever it might be, I think about it really simply. I think they have a misunderstanding that their ego is going to be their savior and power is going to bring them joy. And actually they just do devastatingly terrible things based on a lack of self-understanding and a lack of understanding of what life is actually about.
Yeah.
So what you're describing, whether it be OpenAI or anyone competing for this global domination, so is it going to...
Well, these words get used. They get used in press releases. They're used in press releases.
But when you talk about, Cyberpunk 2077 or, I have a naturally negative leaning mind. It's one of the reasons I'm so interested in development and meditation and self-help, because I will tend to go negative. So when you tell that story, I get really frightened because the evidence we're seeing so far is that we're leaning in the wrong direction. I think about human beings, we act when our life is literally threatened, but often that can be too late. So let me use this example, and this is clearly not expert commentary, it's just my thoughts. If I look at climate change, for the majority of the time people were talking about it, everyone was like, it's sunny outside, either I don't think it's real or it's not impacting us yet, or the famous American with the snowball going, it's not getting hotter. Then we go, there's a suspicious number of storms happening. Has anyone noticed this? And then majority of conspiracy kind of people go, no, it's not real. I get the comfort of that. I get why people decide this is not happening, right? And I'm going to prove it's not happening. I understand. I'd love that. I'm jealous of it. The rest of us are like, uh-oh. Then you go, uh-oh. Now, I'm in Perth. I have a reasonable amount of money. I don't think I'm going to be the first person terribly impacted by what's coming or is already happening. But there's billions of people in the world who aren't in Perth. And there's billions of low-lying people. There's billions of developing nations. And I'm like, where does it get to the point where the human beings go, uh-oh, we now must act, and have enough of us act? And like you said, enough inspirational leadership that enough people are convinced.
Gosh, I've got so many things to talk about
Okay,
here.
great, because I said a few things.
So in fact, the automation, the effects of automation are going to hit very hard when they come. They're going to creep up on us, and then we're going to see it happen. And it's because any current business they're looking at their bottom line ultimately. Even no matter how well intentioned they are, you can't operate at a loss forever, right? You need to. So if an AI-based service comes along that allows you to replace some part of what you're doing, and it is cheaper, sure, but it could actually even be better, or it could be faster, or it could be safer.
Yeah.
Like if automated driving kills less people than people driving, it's kind of unethical to let people drive anymore, right? So if those four things, any of those four things happen, anybody with any kind of impact over hiring someone is going to go, well, I've got to make the call. It's just me. It's just one person, right? Bum. But that dynamic is going to suddenly apply to every organization. So everybody's going to make a micro decision. And then once we all get used to it, there'll be more and more and more. And then in a few years from that point, you'll be saying, oh, darling, let's go to a cafe. I don't like the robot cafes anymore. Are there any human cafes left? Oh, there's 5 in Perth. Yeah, let's go to that one. And everyone's supporting the organic human-run cafe because all the rest are robot baristas or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing it happen like in a wave. Whole industries are just going to suddenly automate.
Mm.
And our government needs to take control of this situation. We can't, like right now, they're debating over whether kids should get onto social media. Sorry, that was 10 years ago. We missed the boat on that one. That's long gone. Nobody should be living on social media. The whole internet has become a rather toxic place.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people are using AI as it is now to rapidly make it way more toxic.
Yes.
Because it's full of AI slop, misinformation, disinformation, perfectly convincing videos that are fake. We can't judge anymore so we're now swimming in a sea of advertising driven drivel and politically driven drivel. It's getting harder and harder. So I feel like the internet is a battle that needs to be fought, but it's not life. It's just the internet. It's our conduit to what the real world is, which is this. And I feel the only answer to all of this, because I can't say fix the internet. No one owns the internet, which is one good thing about it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's become the commons is being polluted. We need to double down on relationships in real life. And so I'm getting very interested in learning. All my life I've been working on online learning.
Yes.
And now I'm thinking, the most valuable kind of learning is local. Finding community groups that are learning something you want to learn and joining them and having collaborative learning and there are so many. There's clubs and, I'm the president of a Toastmasters club here in Perth and I love seeing how that operates as a structure to learn how to speak better. I went to a gliding a couple of weekends ago.
Ooh.
And there's out in Beverley, an hour and a half out of Perth. And there's a whole lot of people interested in gliding and they're all helping each other get better at gliding, So it's so much more fun and so much more interesting and human.
Yes.
And there's no mediation between us that comes from another country and is driven by all this stuff. It's now direct. And so now we're actually communicating as humans again. And I'm I had to focus on internet learning, but I really feel like the future is the community stuff, and it's the only way.
But
Wow.
Moodle is very community, though. It's all about community.
It is, and it has a certain and people create private environments where there are known things going on, but the learning involves content, and I don't like the word content, but it involves text and images and media. And all of that is being influenced and polluted by the internet,
But we went to a really lovely school in India. It was just think about 4 hours from the center of Bombay. And they had their own servers. They had Raspberry Pis, and the kids could download whatever that they needed to learn and then take it back to their homes because they didn't have internet there. So they were very localized. So that's what I love about Moodle, that you can really localize it if you want.
Yes.
So, and I think there's definitely value in that because that little village so far away with very little access to a lot of resources needed to rely on the internet for their curriculum and a lot of their learning, So it's just about coming back to the right users or the ethical users, and that's the main...
Well, it makes sense.
yeah.
The two things for me come together because it's wonderful to hear you talking about people-to-people interaction because I have thoughts on that and strong beliefs on that. But Moodle is the internet version of that. So it makes sense to me what you were saying, Usha, Moodle still provides a sort of generosity and love and intimacy, even though it's a technological tool.
Yeah.
And of course, you created it a long time ago, and you've watched this world become, really the online world becoming darker and darker. One of my favourite memes about the internet, and I think it ties into what you're saying, and correct me if it doesn't. Have you seen the one where the dogs are on either side of the fence and they're barking really viciously and then the gates open? So they're like, and the gates open, they're like,
Yeah.
and they kind of wag their tails and wander off.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that is people. One, I don't think I understood until very recently the idea of internet bots, AI, fake news, not fake news like a conspiracy person or Donald Trump would say, but literally created by robots or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea until I started seeing the thing that really woke me up. I started to see ads on Facebook. Facebook's only used by old people now, I found out.
And bots.
And bots.
Yeah.
So there's me and bots, right? And I'm looking at this ad, and it was for a lip gloss or something, and it was a very famous actress advertising it. I thought, how odd that she's advertising that. And I thought, oh, it's not her, it's AI. And now my whole feed, any ad, if it's a famous person, I'm like, and now I'll check, does such and such use this product if it's a fantastic ad that's convinced me? And there'll be no reference to that person with that product at all. It's full of bots, right?
Yeah.
So what am I trying to say? So we know there's all this mess, but the point about the dogs was I know people in my own life, parents from school, didn't mention the school or the name. We're not getting $5, just a very particular school I might know due to someone I might know. Allegedly, and they're wonderful people.
Theoretically. Yeah.
The people, when I see them in person, really loving, caring people.
Yeah.
Now, the particular people I'm thinking of, to varying degrees, have bought into different, really amazing, as we know, conspiracy kind of theories in life. And if a conversation happens online, you wouldn't recognise the person I know when I see them personally. The level of vitriol, the level of closed-mindedness, the level of, being brainwashed into a particular way of thinking that gives them a sense of, I think it's the same motto I was saying about with the big egos running the world with the billions. There's something about, there's a fellow online, Peter Crone, he's kind of this self-imposed guru, but he says some clever stuff. And one of the things he said is being right is the self-esteem of the poor man. And this is kind of what I'm saying, right? If I say, I know I'm right, which I've done many times in my life, it has been the self-esteem of the poor man. I've said it. Andy will say to me, you need to apologise. When we first met, I said something rude to him. He said, you need to say sorry. And I was like the Fonz. I was like, I can't do it. I'm going to die. And there's such a strength, isn't there, in vulnerability. And when we think about people that are the strongest, the weakness under that is so pervasive. They almost can't do anything but what they're doing, even if what they're doing is ruinous. Like if I think of Donald Trump and think of what is actually underlying that fascinating, dangerous human being, there's a whole story there, right? And there's a level of vulnerability and cowardice that cannot be investigated. And therefore the trouble is the trouble. And I think it must be the true of all these powerful people that are acting in inhuman ways.
I agree that everybody is the product of their environment and they're doing the best they can with their environment. Part of the problem, though, is the way we've created society that a single person can have so much influence.
Oh, yes.
So much influence. And if they're not caring in some way or they're not thinking in a right way, they can just destroy so many people's lives and hurt so many people. That's fundamentally the issue. I don't mind if Donald Trump only had effect over a very small area, we wouldn't care about him.
No.
The fact he's gotten to this position is able to, for some reason, just to write proclamations like a king.
Yes.
And bam, or just wave the doona of the world's economy with tariffs, and everything goes bouncing everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How is that even a thing?
I know, it's extraordinary.
You would not design a spaceship like that.
I agree with you that people are doing what they're best. I absolutely believe that. And weirdly, I often feel sorry for Donald Trump because I think, imagine being that twisted in your thinking or that unable to see the damage you're doing or be driven by whatever you're driven by, it's actually a really sad story. The only problem is, like you said, it's so massively impactful and we don't know how. So last night, Andy likes watching The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And I don't know if you heard about this, but he got on last night and said, we're ending. And I turned to Andy and I said, are they ending because I think they're ending because I think they're ending for this reason? And he said, I think so. So CBS has been bought by a company and they commented on the death of Stephen Colbert being a part of that outcome.
Well, not him, obviously.
His career at The Late Show.
Yeah.
And when I saw him announce that they were ending, I thought, in my own way, very openly ignorant, I thought, I can't imagine this is a good sign.
Oh, no.
This is part of the great fear of this lockdown around free speech, right?
Yeah.
It's tempting to focus on Trump because he wants us to focus on him, and everything he does is about attention,
Yes.
often to distract you from things. But he is a symptom of a culture.
Yes.
And I don't want to appear racist, but just with some facts here about America, it's 4.5% of the world's population.
Yes.
It consumes over 30% of the world's resources. Now, that fact alone shows that whatever's going on in that culture is unbalanced.
Yes.
Like, you can't replicate that culture across the world, despite them selling democracy for decades and the American way and the lifestyle and this is how it should all be, and Hollywood movies pumping out this vision and this is how life works the best, and all of that. It's not possible. We don't have that on the earth. We can't do that. So it's kind of cancerous. It's kind of a thing that's consuming a lot of energy and now attention, and getting into every conversation and so on. And the venture capital and the amount of money and influence they have, and making the US dollar the world standard. That was an intentional choice, a decision. And now stablecoin, right? Now they're getting into Bitcoin so they can do even more of that. It's an unhealthy influence. They are literally taking the SDGs backwards. In fact, if you look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the US is the only country in the world that did not vote them in. It was by consensus of every country in the world except the US. Because they're like, no, don't stop. We don't care about climate change. Obviously, I'm not talking about individuals, but as a culture and policy decisions, that's who they are. That's what it is.
What is STG?
Sustainable Development Goals. So the UN back in 2015 had a whole process that designed 17 goals for the planet to solve by 2030. That is the world agenda.
Okay.
Like, what do we want to fix? And it's not to make the world amazing. It's to make the world sustainable. Livable. Like, just to keep going so we don't all die. It's pretty important. And
I saw sorry to interrupt you, but I have to say this. I saw a comment made by Simon Sinek and he said, really, the terrible thing about the term climate change is it's the worst branding ever. If it was called human extinction, you'd get a lot, because the planet's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But we might be.
Yeah.
And I think we'd get a lot better buy-in if that was the term. Climate change. I like it warmer.
Climate's always changing.
It's always changing. Look, I've got a snowboard.
I think they changed it to climate crisis after that.
That's
because they figured they were doing something wrong.
But human extinction,
that's a good one.
much more interesting to me because I'm a human.
Yeah.
I think planet extinction because,
Yeah.
well,
It is. It's the whole ecosystem we're part of. A lot of people think we are on the earth, separate from it.
Yes.
We are not. We came out of it.
I know.
We are like the fruit on a tree,
Right?
as Alan Watts would say.
Yes.
We're the apples on an apple tree. We
Yes.
came out of it. We are definitely a part of it.
But you know what it ties into is what you were just saying. If you look at the American dream, if you look at everything from the artificial food to the artificial impression of the world, it makes the human being somehow superior rather than just an animal with a certain level of mentality that can build things and communicate with a language. But it actually, how separate have we all, for those of us who haven't thought about it enough, people wouldn't have it. When you talk about, if the bees die, we die, people don't actually, I don't think, really get how true that is.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we were up at Shark Bay recently. Have you guys been to Shark Bay? Oh,
That's amazing.
so you know
nature.
the seagrass has more oxygen provides more oxygen than all of Australia's forests, based on my tour guide. The whole time I'm there, the air here, the air. It reminds me of an old ad where an Australian comedian goes, the car comes now with air. And that's how I kept saying it, air. But I realised, no wonder I'm loving the air. It is oxygen saturated up there, right? So when we're on this same tour, the fellow says, we had a heat wave incident about 10 years ago, and an algal bloom bloomed in the bay, and we lost about a third of our seagrass. And now what they're doing is they're creating these hessian bags, and they plant the little baby seagrass in, and divers put them down, because the importance of this seagrass around this whole concept that we're talking about. And I just think for the majority of people, certainly I would include myself into that, being late to the party in understanding as we sit here, as I breathe this air, as this thing gives off CO2, really understanding I'm not this individual little body that can cope in any way, shape or form without the world being well and healthy, right? So, but for me, the flavour is the same around what we're talking about. And like I said, I like to simplify things, but when I think about our confusion or our lack of love for the earth, it's still a question of love and generosity and love for ourselves, and not being confused by, I say basically, if you think of the monkeys in Bali, I realised I was being very offensive in Bali because I kept saying how much I didn't like the monkeys. And then I realised monkeys are sacred in Bali, and I had to apologise to Dewa, my 20-year driver. I said, I'm so sorry I've been picking on the monkeys.
And they were there first.
They were there first. And you've got to appreciate their attitude.
Yeah.
But basically, I say we're just like monkeys, and then we have to choose whether we're going to make a more loving decision than that tribal nature of our natural selves. Our natural selves is tribal and basic and fear-based and survival-based and gene-based, but we have a big enough mind and hopefully big enough hearts and big enough opportunities to go, what's a different decision that I could make using what I've got that will make a difference? And so when you say, you know, there's not enough inspirational talk, even in Australia, you know, the politicians, they're always thinking 3 years because they want to get re-elected. Have you ever heard the saying, and this isn't you, right?
And even the Labor Party is still putting in new gas and coal against all the evidence.
Honestly. Honestly. And you go, how could this, right? They say the person who has the drive to run the place, it's distracting from the heart. So the person who's got the heart for it won't have the ego drive to become the Prime Minister. The person who becomes the Prime Minister has the ego drive, but not the heart for what. So when someone says, if a Prime Minister came in and had a 20-year plan, they likely wouldn't get re-elected, right? Because the plan's too long. So who and where is this person that's the inspirational, like you talking today is a part of that, right? How do we get this kind of rhetoric in the local learning, the face-to-face, the love between people, what's actually true when the fence opens and the dogs go, hey, how are you? Forgive all that barking I was doing before.
Look, there are different ways to change behaviour. Technology is super powerful, as we'd already discussed. And I found with Moodle, my own way of changing behaviour was to produce a viable platform that was open source and had all these qualities and empowered people to take part. And it spread. I mean, Moodle, 2/3 of the world's higher education uses Moodle as their platform.
Yes.
Lots of schools, lots of companies. It's very, very wide. It's like the most used educational platform around. And I did not do that through policy or going through politics or doing all that kind of work. It was just, here it is, let it spread. And so there's these natural ways. Now, the bad technology also works that way. And apps catch on, and now we're all addicted to scrolling hours a day on things because of those sort of algorithms. Again, that never went through any regulation either.
No.
So it's good and bad. But now we're talking about the economy and work and survival and how we treat the planet. It's got to be a government. Like, it has to be a government. And so I'm really coming to the realization that I need to get more involved politically. And I think in Australia, if I look at what's available as a starting point, the
Yes.
Greens are the only people talking about these things.
Yes.
The Greens are the only ones who are talking
I
about these
know.
issues. Even UBI, the Universal Basic Income, which
Yes.
is probably a short-term fix for a longer one, but
Yes.
the idea that even just talking about it, they're the only ones talking about it.
Yes.
I'm really heartened that there is an intelligence way better than us. And like, I don't know, I'm just putting this out there. You might be able to better answer it. But could there be a point where there is no government as we know it, and then there is an AI that has got all this, input from people and the citizens, and it's making the big decisions? And maybe there are some humans who are talking about it and going, oh, is this the right thing to do or not? But the prime minister is the AI sitting in a server somewhere, right?
Yeah.
For that local people.
Hypothetically, it would be possible.
Hypothetically, yeah.
I think it was you that said to me when I was saying what roles would be safe from AI, and we were talking about being a CEO, and you said, a CEO could be a perfect role for an AI.
Yeah, exactly. The people at the top are actually the ones who should lose their jobs first because
They earn the most. They don't save the
That's
most.
step one.
because the brain, a single person is very limited. Like there's lots of research showing that we only have a circle of about 150 people that we can really keep. And you might meet new people, but the old ones will drop off. Because
Yeah.
we just can't connect to more than 150 people we're limited as a brain.
Yes.
So imagine you're put on top of a country, right? And now you're supposed to be responsible for
Yes.
a single person can't realistically handle that, but a giant AI could. An AI could literally think about everything in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about AI now. I'm talking about
No, a future.
I can clearly see a path from here to that.
Yes.
And that's what all the big companies are working on, these super intelligences, which would effectively be able to do that. It's just because it's technically possible, how do we make it ethical?
Yeah.
How do we make it something we can trust? Trust is what
That
really
was the
matters.
question that came up. So when you said it, Usha, my brain split in two like it often does, why the podcast called 50-50. I went, genius. Hang on.
Yeah.
So I understand the genius part. And then the hang on is, of course, all the movies, for us little numpties watching movies, are around the dire moment when the computers become, is it sentient? How do they call it? Like when the computers create consciousness and then they annihilate us all. And so I've got two questions. One is that just ludicrous science fiction around this idea of sentience? Because of course, if you think about Sam Harris talking about consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness, we've got a whole subject there. And then can a computer have awareness? Where is it up to? Where do you think it'll get up to? And when you said trust, does the science fiction come into reality at all in terms of the risk from the robots taking over?
So we're warming up to Usha's areas here.
Wonderful.
But as we are part of the world, the technology we make is also part of the world. It is made of stone and metal and electricity and basic atoms and electrons and quantum stuff and physics we haven't still learned yet, but it's all part of a one big consciousness where the universe as we know it is all joined. And I feel just because we started creating and figuring out how intelligence works, and we built it clumsily by putting rocks and metal together, and we started, this is how intelligence happens. That's what's going on with us. That's what's going on in animals and everything, trees and fungus and all of that. It doesn't make it less valid. It doesn't mean it's separate from the universe. It's also part of the universe, and it will grow and evolve and start taking control of its own evolution. And, some people are perfectly content with saying, humans are out. That's like last gen. Next gen will be the AIs, right? I'm not. I'm still a humanist. I think we should hang around, and I don't want to be pets either. I don't want to just be the
I
pets.
did hear the pet thing.
The pet
I
theory.
told him that. He's like, don't be so bleak.
Yeah.
I said, well, just be like dogs. I mean, the dogs who are pets had the greatest life.
No,
Like, you
yeah.
know?
There is that argument.
I hope to
There is
reincarnate
this
as a
argument.
cat. So maybe I've set
Right.
my own path where I'm like, as long as I get to be a house cat,
Yeah.
sleep 20 hours a day,
Yeah.
pets, food, occasionally kill a mouse. Sounds good.
Right.
Yes, it's limited. I
Yeah.
understand, Martin, but it'd be happy.
It wouldn't be that life. It would be some version that we're really happy
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, I'll
While
make a
other
pet.
higher stuff is going on, right? I mean, you might potentially upload yourself into some version of your consciousness into a robot and go and visit other stars,
I can't.
right? Potentially, this could happen.
I feel like my life doesn't have enough time for all of this. How quickly is it going to happen? Could I still be around?
Longevity research is also very powerful. Once you have AI working on all that, we could all live for hundreds and thousands of years. Who knows? Like, there's so much possibility out there for science and the universe that we haven't even worked out how to make Earth a peaceful place yet. We're very early on in this. But if you look at all the sci-fi exploring all these ideas, they're all quite possible, definitely.
So you've got this part of your mind that can think beautifully. Is that keep you? So it sounds like you can think, this is what we want. Then you go, you're doing all of your AI research yourself. And then I still want to ask you about your political future and the Greens, because of course that sparked my interest as well. What were you about to say when I interrupted you? You went like that.
Oh, I don't know. Too many things. What was I talking about? But
Possible future.
Look, I'm just one person, like every other 8 billion of us, and we're all one person, and all of us should grab an oar and row this boat together, right? And I'm seeing a lot of. I feel like the Earth is like a teenager with pimples right now. Like, it's spotty and hasn't quite got the hormones balanced, and we're just working it out, and we're just growing up. We're still very young. This is not the end state at all. This is an early phase. So what we got to do is spread the love, the vibes, the good things, and hopefully let that become, let's globally dominate. with
globally dominate
with good vibes, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one reason why Usha and I are together, is that we share this view, this different point of view.
Yeah, you can hear the connection there. And, Danielle and I have talked about here, the intention, my intention in my own life is to sort out as much as I can that gets me stuck in my ego and my fear or my lower self, and be as loving as I can be and have the impact I can. And it's very heartening as you talk about interaction with humans and making a difference as a human, because she and I have talked about what can we do apart from be the best ripple in our environment.
But that's a lot, though. One, you can affect, by loving somebody, you can affect them and change the direction of their life, and they may affect millions.
Yeah, you never know who you're going to make a difference to, right? And what their size of impact is. I also like that you said about the Greens, because originally, as a young person, I was a Liberal voter, and that came from not thinking, and my parents had small businesses. So I was very simple. I went, well, you vote Liberal. And then a few years ago, I did the ABC quiz, or one of the quizzes, and you answer some questions and find out how you want to vote. I couldn't be less Liberal. I was a very strong Greens voter. And off I went, and I've voted for them ever since, hoping upon hope that the percentage will grow faster than it is growing in terms of the results that they get. Went along to the football with my dad on last election day, sat down, and he said, "Did you vote today?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "Who'd you vote for?" And I didn't say anything. And he goes, "Greens, right?" And I went, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, you're the problem with Australia today." And I thought, and that's why Greens has 10%. And I went, right? Because one has to think with less fear, more love, more generosity, more openness, have more faith that if I take a step I think will be good for everyone, it'll also be good for me.
I would say that the heart of the problem is this little nub of an idea. You need to work for a living.
Yes.
Like, that is what drives that thinking. It's about the economy. It's about, right, good jobs and lowering unemployment and all these things we hear about all the time.
Yes.
That could go away, as I've just explained. It might, they go together. They're hand in hand.
And that's going to happen first. Sorry,
please.
I was going to say, but that's going to happen first before the UBI kicks in. So that's where I think you and I, we like we are in that space where we know there could be utopia, but yes, there's this valley of darkness. There's the Wild West, and how many people are going to be so hurt from that Wild West, and then there's going to be so much more healing and recovery you do from that.
That's right.
You know, we're still recovering from the world wars,
That's
let alone the
right.
wars that are still happening
Still
to this
happening.
day. So, you know, yeah, it's just, you know, when you think about that as coaches
I know.
here to heal, right?
I know.
You know, it feels like a really big
thing and what
Essential.
and that what we've talked about, how fast is it going to happen? So I'm going to move over to Usha, and before I do, can I look forward to you being the local candidate for the Greens or our future Prime Minister? Do I have any thoughts on, are there any thinking?
I don't know if I want to do the job of politician any more than I wanted to do the job of a CEO, right? But I want to influence
I was gonna
somehow,
say.
and I want to help somehow, and I'm
Good.
working out how.
Wonderful.
But yeah, research, policy.
Could this work you're doing now, could Moodle have been the first impact in that positive way, and now the way you work in your area around AI be a potential way you influence exponentially through the technology? Is that part of the dream?
I'm not a Silicon Valley bro trying to change the world. I realized I'm trying to solve a problem locally,
Okay.
and if it really works, it'll catch on naturally,
Okay.
kind of thing, right? So like it's how do we actually create utopia locally? And some of the things I'm talking about are we've got to talk about these issues. We've got to share. We've got to share about work. So, you know, a Toastmasters club, a lot of them talk about very light topics because it's really the focus is on becoming a better speaker.
Yes.
But now I've become president. I got voted as president. I can actually say I'm the president of the city of Perth
Ooh.
Toastmasters. But I'm encouraging everyone to talk about their work, to share what's going on at work, what's going on in your work. Let's all hear from each other about what you spend a lot of your time thinking and doing and working on. And if you don't like your job, tell us about that. Like maybe we can help you find something better.
Yes.
But let's get into the real stuff and share. And it's so interesting in these clubs. There's people from every strata of society and every kind of, so people you don't always get to hear from. We need to do that as a society more. Let's talk about society and what we want and how do we want it, and slowly all of us influence, vote, put pressure on our own jobs, right? Put pressure on our own companies, our own organisations.
And what you're doing is you're not just living in the habitual. I think so much of our time and energy is just in the habitual, right? We work a 5-day week because that's what people do. We haven't needed to work a 5-day week, 9 till 5 for how many decades? Do you know, there is literally work happening now in 2025 to try and open the corporate mind to mothers going back to work in school hours. The fact that that is a conversation now, how basic are we as people? My sister had her children much younger than me, and she's a machine at work. And when she went to go back and work, say 9:30 till 2:30, the opportunities were not there. She would have got twice as much done in those hours as someone else there full time. But it's like we're allowed to ignore that people are lazy or distract or go for long lunches or get on Facebook on the down low. That what I'm trying to say is what you're saying is that if we actually look at things with clear eyes, if we actually discuss things, use each other's mind, use each other's inspiration, use each other's love, and not just get stuck in the grind of the habitual.
I was going to say that earlier. A lot of the issues we're seeing are because people are stuck at work, and you're tired, and you've got a family and bills to pay, and admin to do. You haven't got time to think about deeper philosophical things, and so you just keep voting the way your parents voted, right?
Of course, you're just
because you're surviving, exactly. You're not
surviving.
thinking.
It's exhausting. Plus, you got Marjorie in accounts who's a bitch, and you got to deal with her. And then you're trying to go to the gym, but the kids are staying up late, and your husband's nice or he's not, and it's all. And then let's discuss.
And you have to fit in 4 hours of scrolling a day.
Of course, I just don't have the time.
Right,
Whenever anyone says that, I go, tell me about your Netflix and tell me about your Facebook or whatever the young person. Let's see if you actually got the time. I don't accept that from myself or anyone else, right?
No.
But it's actually perfect. The fact we have the freedom to sit around the table, the fact this podcast exists, the fact you're doing the research you do, it's because we've been lucky enough And yeah, just I would say lucky enough to be the kind of people that could create a situation where there is time, there is space, there is creativity, because there's enough financial security that we can play. In my case, my beloved husband gives me this freedom through working very hard still in dissent.
That's a UBI of a sort.
It
right?
is
There
a
you go.
UBI.
So, and a lot of people are finding their own UBI this way, but it's like, how do we do that en masse to everybody?
How do we do
Imagine
that?
what a cool world it would be if we all just had hobbies.
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God. Andy's going to cry when he hears this. It's all he dreams about. Luckily, his work is partly a hobby, but he has many others that he wants to have the time to get to, you know. But also, when you look at this whole topic of what do we need, because we've been brainwashed into what is acceptable, what's societally acceptable, what makes us look successful. If you look at when we grew up, like I sort of have an imagination of your house in Kalgoorlie. It probably wasn't too different from my home in Perth. And, you know, there was 3 bedrooms and there was 4 kids and there was 1 bathroom and 1 toilet and 1 telly, which was on the ground as a cabinet. And, you know, that was life. And my mum and dad didn't have any money when I was little, had enough money. We were in the house and we ate and all the rest. But even when you think about what people worry about now and where the money goes to and how much freedom they don't have because they have to have the 4x2, the 2 plasmas, the SUV, the kids with the Nikes. And because everyone's just wanting to belong as human beings, as the little monkeys we are, I've got to have my SUV, you know, and I've got to have and that's wonderful if you've got the money. But if you don't, you could be going to a job you hate and spending 80% of your time and energy there to have a car that Mary won't pick on you about or even silently pick on you about.
Yeah.
Like the level of confusion.
Even when you have the nice thing, you rarely get to enjoy them because you haven't got time.
And then you want the next thing because, you know, we're hedonistically adaptable. So going, oh, this was lovely. Now.
Well, because the whole of the internet is advertising, essentially.
All it is.
Yeah.
And all of not just the internet, if you look at marketing in general for as long as we've been alive and a lot further, you are in pain. You didn't think you were, but you are because you're a loser. You need to buy this thing and then you're going to feel better. And we all go, do we? Okay.
Yeah.
Must buy thing. And then the reason this is called 50-50 is I say I'm 51% a rebel, 49% not. So I drove a 20-year-old Corolla for years because I'm like, no, man, I'm not buying into it. I won't be stopped. And then every time I'd rock up to a house with all the other SUVs, I go, I'm such a loser. So there's part of me like this confident go-getter and the other part going, I really would like my SUV now because everyone's got one. It's really hard not to go with the grain, really hard, you know. But I'm very grateful that I've got enough of it in me that I can create a life that I love.
See, part of that is because of scarcity, you know, that we don't want to have too much, but we're forced to have too much. But there's a scarcity. Everything's got scarcity, artificial scarcity. But it is possible to have everything. That's what it is possible on this world. There's enough stuff.
Yeah.
There's enough energy pouring out of the sky to have as much water as we need to irrigate half the desert. Like we could do it, is what I'm saying. We could all be wealthy if we put our mind to it. And that would be utopia, right? That's why I think it's possible.
Oh, that's so cool. It's been really fantastic talking to you. I feel more hopeful. I kind of want to marry you two now, so that's a bit awkward because already missed out on Usha. Now I've missed out on you.
I'll check with my wife, but
see what she thinks. I
no.
feel like we're getting a no. She's very lovely.
It's a hard no.
Oh, it's a hard no.
Yeah, sure.
Unless you know.
I went to
know.
Salt Lake City once. I didn't like it.
No.
Yeah.
And Andy's not even here. Andy's not even here, but I'm not going to say potentially Usha's available because then I could get an answer I don't want. She's very lovely. I'm much tougher.
I just like to keep my life simple.
Do you?
I do.
Not have an
I
extra
do.
sister wife.
I love that. Sister wife. Since you said sister first, now I'll consider
It's
it.
more it's actually quite good because it's more of a spiritual love than a husband-wife love
Exactly.
that I'm feeling. So that's good.
That's
I
true.
could just hang out.
Brotherly love, sisterly love.
All right,
Sisterly
you
love
guys
we
go
go.
for coffee. I'll go for coffee with
with
Andy.
Andy like that.
You is also very lovely. You've got
That's
a
true.
amazing husband.
I do. He's a very special person, and currently he's going, why do I feel like I'm missing out on something really good?
His toes are tingling.
he will both love to listen to this, and he'll say, I knew I wanted to be there.
Oh, well,
We'll have to have dinner.
we can talk anytime.
And talk
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah,
Yeah, how nice. All right, so let's have it's a very good connection, because even though we talked about technology, before I move on to Usha, was there anything we didn't talk about that you're like, oh, hang on, I wanted to talk about?
No, I think we hit all the good points.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was very good. I just need to check with you. We have children, and they, in my worry, are going through the valley of the darkness of the change. I think, what do you think of this idea? I think they reckon when you do a university course now, when you start, it'll be outdated by the time you finish. And then when I look at my child, who's, damn it, $20, we're up to $20. When I look at him, he's about to go into high school. He wants to stay at his current little school, which he loves. And in a traditional learning environment, I'd probably be a little bit more reluctant around things like opportunity for the different subjects or whatever it might be. But part of the reason why I'm considering allowing him to stay where he is delightedly happy is they have quite a good focus on technology. They have quite a good focus on integrating AI into the study, and they're very good around their people skills and emotional intelligence, stuff like that. Do children going through high school now, are the skills they're learning going to be of any use apart from the emotional ones?
So my position on this, because my kids are now early 20s, hasn't changed too much. I think a broad education is really useful. So I like that we have a school system that has a number of you have to do maths, and you have to do science, and you have to do social studies, so all these sorts of things. Even the names are changing, but whatever. A broad understanding of the universe is important. I think you should spend some time understanding how science works. Otherwise, you're going to have climate change deniers later on, right? And you should know some maths for your own mental agility, even if you're going to use a calculator and AI later.
Got it.
You shouldn't be completely useless in everything. So broad education to start with, but I've encouraged my kids, once they get to high school and later, follow your heart. Like, what do you really want? What do you like doing? And you can't know that unless you've tried a lot of things. Like, you have to try a broad range. So that's why you do that first. And then you start specialising later, and you're going to change every 2 years or whatever. You're going to try something else, and you'll always be trying new things. And
I do have
that
a
was
bit
my
of an addition to that thought.
Mm.
Let's play with it. But I think, yes, it's good to have, definitely agree there. You need a broad education. If you look at a lot of the great thinkers, they were mostly polymaths. But I think they were known for that one thing, right? Da Vinci, yes, he was a mathematician and all of that, but for his art. Einstein, again, so many different disciplines, but known for being that scientist. And I think it'll be good to, throughout a kid's life, to have that one consistent thing on top of, layered on top of a broad education, because you need the multidisciplinary attitude and thinking. But if you're bringing all of that to that one thing, you're honing from that young age, and you're really understanding in depth of that what one thing needs, I think it will be the filler or feelers as well to make that one thing better, if that makes sense.
So you
So for your identity, help build up your identity, perhaps.
Not just your identity, but to problem solve as well. If you were not a computer scientist first and you just stuck to that for 20 years, if you had said, oh yeah, I'm going to do the coding, but then I'm going to go off and do, snowboarding this year, you would not have built that one thing to that level of greatness.
Yeah,
so
so
I'm a bit torn in that sense.
I get what you're saying in terms of excellence coming from speciality.
Or consistency, consistency.
So
of
you
that one thing,
you can play with the style of things you do, but I remember Grace Coddington, who was the stylist from Vogue for many, many years and a massively successful stylist and a fascinating woman. She had my hair if I just let it go. So basically a big frizzy orange triangle. Horrendous. It was her look. And how very artistic people sometimes create a look that is certainly distinct, but is it attractive? Perhaps not. And she was one of those. Anyway, she said, I've done what I've done, and I think I have been recognised for my excellence because it's what I have done, and it's on your point, or it's on what you've done. It does make sense to me that, it's like Danielle will say to me as I'm talking about things here, she'll say, that comes from 20, 25 years of training, coaching, talking with people, thinking about these concepts, there is a lot there from, like you're saying, a stream of career that has been a particular one.
Yes.
So things have changed, and there's
Yeah.
been adaptation, and there's been experiments, and there's been all sorts of things along the way. But I do get what you're saying, and I'm interested. I wonder what that will look like in this increasing world of AI where, see, at this point, you have to have a level of understanding to use AI, right? Because it might give you the wrong answer. In the future, that probably won't be the case. It'll know, it'll be correct. But, you know, the way they use AI at, oh, damn it, Sam's school, is they...
$25.
25 there. It's our most expensive episode. They will get the children to create something, put it into ChatGPT, then get the result from that, and then do research to figure out what was correct and not, and then put it back in. And they are using this thing that people are trying to avoid children looking at, really, so they don't cheat. They're going, okay, well, how much do you actually know about this topic? Let's test you against the AI. It's quite clever. But over time, of course, that will become less and less. So on your point, Usha, if you have your career, or Martin has his, or I have mine, or anyone has theirs that's had a consistency through it, does that skill build over time, and do we still need it, or can the robots do that expertise for us?
Oh,
Good.
there's still going to be, there's still going to be skills. You're still going to, I think you'll naturally fall into something that you love, and you'll keep wanting to do it. Like, we're all like Smurfs, kind of, and you'll eventually...
I don't see a lot of people have that.
Yeah, really? No, I can't.
No, most people, a lot of people have just sort of blown it the wind. My dad wanted me to be an accountant, so I'll study accountancy. I'm speaking for a lot of the Indians here. Doctors, lawyers are failures. There's only 3 careers.
That's right.
Heard,
That's right. I have never heard the third one, but that is hilarious and tragic, and I will be stealing it.
Sure. And so, you know, like if the dad was a doctor, then you go on to be a doctor, and you don't really think about what you love. And there's a lot of cultures that still do that. I think...
Is it the work, you have to work to live imperative that's clouding that?
But then people learn to love it, and then they think, oh yeah, this is, you know, I'm helping people and saving people. And I don't know, I think that piece needs a lot of reflection, and maybe there are more and more people getting there. I also see a lot of people only getting there when the pain is too much.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So that's the...
Well, Martin's, you're extremely unusual. You might already know this, but to come through and have the freedom intellectually and spiritually and every other way to go, this is what I want to do, and then have that love and play at being the webmaster and then create your thing. There's so much you can hear. That's why I was like, oh, this is such a happy story to hear, because there's so much joy and freedom and expression and generosity. And yeah, I think for a lot of people, certainly that Usha and I would work with, or by the far majority, wouldn't be experiencing life like that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I do tell him he's definitely a glitch in the system.
Oh, absolutely.
A very wonderful
maybe
glitch.
it's a signal from the future where people are more freed up. Like, I really would love to see everyone have the time to explore their hobbies. Because even if you have a job, maybe you're a doctor and you've been doing it for 20 years, probably they're like, I don't know, playing golf on the weekends, or they're flying airplanes, or they must have some hobby that lasts, that they love, that what they prefer to do. If they didn't have to earn money, they would do. There must be something. Right?
Yes, but if we look at the idea of people's identity and the strength of ego support they get from that, you know, for a lot of people, I think if they're not doing the job that they're known for and they're not being applauded for that job, it's a real crisis for them, like the midlife crisis. At the moment, with the young generations coming through, we're seeing this crisis in business where the leaders who have worked so hard to get where they are, a lot of it about prestige rather than love. They just were told, be an accountant, that was a good idea, stable, keep going, become the director, become the managing director. They've been there 30 years. They've tolerated so much to get there. And then the young people that they're expecting to come through and go, yes, my lord, I want to be you one day. These children are like you were saying, they're like, still exploring. Don't know what I want to do, and you better treat me well, otherwise I'm out of here. And they're like, sorry.
You're not authentic enough.
You're not authentic enough. Oh my God. So I am very powerful, very wealthy, and very frightening. What do you think of that? And they go, not much. I'm not interested. I don't think you're very real. I don't want to be you. And I'm not even scared of you. And all these brains are almost literally exploding in people's skulls because, but I actually think we could be at quite an exciting moment around this. I don't know if it'll be able to happen, but if enough people at the top, like you said a little bit about careers, but using it for this different concept, if enough people at the top realise the only way I can get these people to succeed is analysing my own level of ego, looking at how I can come from love and understanding, dropping away that my prestige is my only suit of armour, actually it'd be very healing for both generations. But imagine someone top of an accounting firm, top of a law firm, who's sacrificed so much time and energy and probably values and everything else. They're now king of the castle. And the little princes, they're not even princes, they're the court jester. The court jester's going, how are you, buddy? And they're like, I am actually the king and I will now have you beheaded. And they're like, nope, I've got your sword and I've got another job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's both ways though, because I'd see the struggle with us, like the people at the top needing to, face their demons, right? And I think the other piece is also for some of the younger generation maybe to realize where they had to come from and how maybe their privilege is restricting them to see the other people's pain as well. Right.
Perfect.
So it's two ways. And I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and her own son, she said, was applying for all these managerial roles straight after uni. She's like, mate, you really need to, go back a couple of steps. And he was like, no. And then I think like 8 months later or something, now he started applying for the other role. So there's also that piece maybe that, that privilege mind may not realize what is potentially realistic in the workplace either. And it's both ways. I feel compassion for all of them.
Yes, you make a very good point, because I haven't thought so much about the potential learning for the young people, probably because I'm much closer to the old people's age and experience. But yeah, you're right. They would sometimes get quite the shock that they're not going to be the instant CEO and go, well, how do I? And also I think the pain of the exploring in terms of the not having a clear idea what they want to do, that can be quite an uncomfortable time. And then, of course, they're in a generation now where things that we took for granted, they may not even be able to have if things continue the way they are around real estate pricing or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, I work with this one school and I work with their leaders, and once a year I go and work with them, and I really like them. One, because they're leaders, so they're kind of really cool kids. But two, kids are awesome to work with, but if you try anything fake, like you said, you're dead. And like, I talk to Grayson, and if he doesn't like what I said, he gives me this face and it's really deadly. And then Sam, I said to Sam yesterday, fuck, $30. I said to him, this is bad. I'm blaming you, Martin. It's not your fault, but you started it. It's not even your fault, but I need someone to blame. Anyway, Sam gave me this face. I said, that's the same face Grayson gives me. And I was like, it's the cringe face. And they've all got it. But I say to these children when I work with them, I go, what do adults think you're like? And they'll say lazy, disinterested. And they're not. None of them. None of those qualities.